Welcome to Truth in Movies. I'm JayDreamerZ, and this is our second to last episode of Season 1 of Stranger Things. This is called Chapter 7, The Bathtub. It's going to be a really interesting presentation today, and let's go ahead and jump right into things. If you remember where we left off last time, the chief actually was sneaking around in Hawkins' laboratory. We're going to come back to Hawkins' laboratory in just a bit. And there were two people that wanted to kill the Demogorgon. And we're going to see it's all kind of wrapping up now. This one's called the bathtub, and we're going to focus a little towards the end on the symbolism of the bathtub itself. So let's check that out. All right, so we pick up where the kids are being chased by the government officials that work in Hawkins' laboratory. They're in these vans chasing them. And there's this huge chase scene, and they're about to run over the kids on the bikes, or it looks like they're about to come hit them, basically, when Eleven sees this van coming, and she uses her superpowers, which is telepathy and telekinesis and other things too, to just stop, put it like a force field in front of this van, and it pops up into the air. So the van flips up and over. We've talked about telepathy and how it's very real, and how it's going to make a comeback as well. If you remember too, Eleven had pushed Lucas away in one of the last episodes. So after she saved them with her superpowers here, Lucas apologizing, and he's like, hey, everything I said about you being a traitor. Remember we had talked about Eleven representing the elven race, the giants, and the people that, you know, tend to settle at the North Pole and have telekinesis and telepathic powers and stuff, and how there's strife between humanity and those who live in the Southlands or outside of the North Pole region, and those who are of the elven race or the El or the giants and etc. who live at the north once they're released. There's strife between them. So he says, I was wrong, right? They decided that it's better for them to work together instead of being torn apart by their differences. So he says, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'm sorry. And Mike goes to shake his hand, and they make up. And so they decide to team up. Meanwhile, the sheriff checks in the trunk, and he finds all these weapons of the kids that were out to kill the Demogorgon. Remember, they were getting all those weapons, bear traps and lighter fluid and stuff like that, so they can try to kill the Demogorgon. And he's like, what is this? Why do you have all this in your trunk? And he's like, you wouldn't believe me. Which is how a lot of us feel, you know, when we want to tell people about our experiences, whenever they're fringe or different or extreme, whether it be ghosts or monsters or aliens or whatever. A lot of people keep that bottled up because they don't feel that they'll be believed by anyone, because they know that they won't. They know that mainstream academics has a real mental hold on most people, and that they're not in the majority, so they won't be believed. Now, the government stops by Mr. Wheeler's house. That's Nancy's dad, right? Nancy and Mike. They stop by her house, and they're there under the guise that they're there to help, right? I'll show you more. Pay attention to the dad figure, too. He's very supportive of all of this. So they stop by his house and surprise them, basically saying, hey, we're with the government. We have every right to come search your home. And they just let them on in, you know, because they don't want to go against the grain. They don't want to go against the system or anything. And the mom's like, you think my son is hiding this girl, 11, right? And then the main guy, this guy steps in, right? At first she's talking to this woman right here, right up here. But then whenever she's not getting anywhere with the mother, then this guy steps in, and they do this whole good cop, bad cop garbage. And this guy right here throughout the entire series just gets under my skin personally, because he represents those who have smiling faces, but they use magic spells. I mean, it's magic. It's evil, dark, terrible. I don't even know the word for it. It's evil magic. And people in this day and age don't believe, all these people don't believe in magic. However, the majority of them are practicing evil witches and sorcerers and all kinds of things. And they practice casting evil spells with a big smile on their faces. They'll smile right at someone, and they use these underhanded tones and sarcasm, and they patronize people, or they pretend that they're on their side. They pretend that they have your best interest at heart, and this is for your safety, and I'm really concerned about you, or something that's important to you, like a family member or something. So he says, I understand how upsetting this is, right? which is, it's a two-faced lie. He's manipulating them. Okay. He's not understanding of that what they're doing is wrong. He doesn't understand that. So see how it's a manipulative way of speaking to people, and it's wrong. All right. It's not coming from a place of kindness. It's not, maybe, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. That's when the devil, that's when the government, that's when evil people in this world creep on in. Whenever we allow them to skirt these gray areas and don't recognize bad things for being bad things, bad energy from bad people. You know what I mean? So he's like, I understand. Will you, but in order for me to help you to find your son and help your son out of danger, I need you to trust me. So will you trust me? That's when you say no. You know what I mean? But the people these days in the modern world, they don't draw the line anywhere. They live in constant states of fear, and they're taken care of, and they receive all of these benefits from their societies and from their governments and from the system and the way that things are. So the government steps in and they say, could you just trust us? We're really just trying to help. We just have your best interest at heart. I have so much like frustration. I don't know the right word, but it's wrong on so many levels. It is evil in the most ancient form of that word. Okay? Between the ancient battle between good and evil, what this guy right here is doing in the movie encapsulates, personifies that evil frequency to the utmost, right? It's not evil that's evil on the surface. It's a hidden evil that disguises itself as good. And I can't stand it. So the kids get together. They're hiding from the government people in the junkyard. And they're talking about Hawkins' lab, right? Because Lucas right here behind me, he went and snuck off, and his compass led him over to Hawkins' lab. And they're like, well, who owns Hawkins' lab? And he says, well, the sign says Department of Energy. So they say, Department of Energy? What do you think that means? And this is another thing that these people right here do. They'll put up these signs that mislead people, making them think that their official government offices or whatnot are looking into electricity or the ocean or space or whatever it may be. But in reality, they have darker agendas. They have different agendas. They're putting up a front, right? So he says, the sign says Department of Energy. And he's like, what do you think that means? And he's like, it means military. This kid knows. Mike knows because he was told that somebody let him in on the secret. He says, then why doesn't it just say energy? I mean, why does it say energy? He's like, just trust me, okay? Like, don't fall for those tricks. He says, do they make like light bulbs or something? This is how they want us to think. When they put up all of these facilities all over the place that put up signs or fronts where it seems like I'm sure they're in there working. I'm sure they're hard at work at, doing something for us. I'm sure they're in there, working on our behalf and they're helping. And you know what I mean? That if we don't know that's true, we shouldn't project that upon organizations that across time and history have given us plates and piles of evidence showing us that they are evil and corrupt and liars and bad and much worse than that, right? So, for example, here is the front entrance to CERN, right? CERN Control Center. Do they tell you, why they chose to name it CERN? No, they don't, or why they put these domes on one side and then the domes are all broken and messed up on the other side of their logo. No, they don't. They want people to just assume that, that's just a logo. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it, so that people don't think critically. They don't examine these things, that they have allowed to represent them and to do the work on their behalf and to do these things in secret. We allow this. And at CERN, they'll put up statues, right? This is just one example. CERN's one out of hundreds of examples of government facilities around the world that put up things like this that are, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say that this is satanic or anything, but there's meaning to this. And it's far more than just, it symbolizes the dance of electrons and atoms deep inside. And that's what they're studying. They just want to study like the tiniest parts of like the nucleus and the atoms and this and that. Why? We don't live in that world. Okay? It has no, I mean, that's a rhetorical question. I'm not asking why. I could think of 100 things off the top of my head that millions and billions and trillions of dollars are better spent in order to actually effectively, instantly help out actual people who could use that help and need it. Instead of trying to break apart the tiniest little atoms. So we need, miles and miles of structure and all of your money devoted to the cause. And there's so many blind trolls out there that will just follow this like a sports team. Blindly follow it and just believe all of the garbage that they're fed about it whenever it's clear that they're up to something. It's called the European Council for Nuclear Research. Right? I'm going to discuss the etymology of the word CERN in just a minute because they won't tell you. I will. They won't. European Council for Nuclear Research. So researching nuclear. What does nuclear mean? Right? Well, let's check it out. Nuclear means nucleus of a cell. It also means middle or the central part of something. It doesn't have to be a cell. It just means the central part, right? The middle part. For example, the middle part of our Earth, our world, as we talk about here on my channel quite often, right? Now, CERN, if you look up similar words like discern or I'm concerned, etc., and so forth, right? It comes from the root that means to distinguish, to separate, or to sift, to divide, to create an opening, to separate one side from the other side, to make a rift. That's actually what it means. That's actually, is it too far-fetched to consider that's maybe what they're doing? Oh, yeah, but, supporters would just instantly jump to their defense because that's their sports team. You know what I mean? They wave that same banner and that same flag as the slaves of that ship. So they would say, oh, no, they're just trying to separate like the atoms and the nucleus and this and that. Why? Well, maybe it might help to cure cancer. You think that's what they're doing? The government agencies of the world who do things to that poison? And, no. I'm not on board. Forget that. NASA's the same way. Okay? NASA puts up garbage like this. Most people in the general population do not second guess an image that's right in their face like this. All they see is what appear to be some stars in a blue sky, which it's not blue, it's black when the stars are out, right? This is all wrong. Everything about this is wrong. This circle, what is that circle? Oh, and then people start internalizing, and then they start supposing, they start just straight up guessing in order to make excuse for government agencies instead of finding out the facts of the matter, instead of investigating on their own. They'll say, oh, that represents like orbit. Well, what is this snake tongue? What is this red vector that's going through the circle? What is that about? Well, that might, you know what I mean? That's how people talk. They instantly jump to the defense because this is their hero. These organizations are their heroes. If you wear a shirt that has this on it, you are a supporter of the government and all of their evil, disgusting ways. Whether you know it or not, I'm just letting you know. That's what I see. Okay? I'm not here to convince people or anything. I'm just sharing. I'm venting really. I'm venting because this is what I see when I walk the path. And I'm out there and I see sleepwalkers rocking their government shirts or hoodies or hats or whatever it may be. I'm not even going to go near discussing anything deep, esoteric, forgotten fringe history, forgotten, arcane, anything with that person. I'm not personally. Most of the people are just tricked, and I'm frustrated. I'm sure you can tell I'm frustrated, right? This is a freaking hole in the sky and plasma coming down through it, right? And this looks like sperm or something, you know what I mean? I don't know. But it's not, everything about these things is wrong. And they try to trick you and say, oh, well, we're exploring space. Why? What do you need to explore space for? Even if space was real as it's presented to us. Even if it was a real concept that they can fly past the upper reaches of the sky and that there is no firmament or dome, as was commonly believed the world across for ages upon ages and centuries and millennia, by the majority of the population who has ever existed in the world, despite what many people think. And they would say, oh, ancient Greece knew about this and that. No, they didn't. Just because one or two ancient Greeks, or people who claim to be ancient Greeks, those people could be made up on paper. You know what I mean? They make up history all the time. 1984. They'll change it. And then because they wrote it down and changed it, or they wrote a book about it, or they put it, posted it somewhere, now it's official. You know why? Because the common people cling. They cling to their government organizations. They cling to their leaders because they're slaves. And what's a slave without a leader? Well, then you're useless. And if you don't want to be self-sufficient and your own leader and your own guide and independent, then you become very frightened and afraid. You know what I mean? So they're like, this looks really bad. That place is like a fortress. And that goes for all these facilities. They're fortresses, okay? If they give guided tours, they're guided tours. They will let you see the parts they want you to see. They're not telling you any of the secrets. People think that they voted for these organizations and, like they just trust them. They just, I'm sure they're doing good things. I'm sure they're protecting our country and this and that. Yeah, well, you don't know, do you? No, you don't. You've just been told that. By who? By them. It's so dumb. NORAD, same way, right? This mountain, this base, well, it's the North American Aerospace Defense Command, which is a mouthful of garbage, okay? Built inside of a friggin' mountain. There's no need. There's no need. People will instantly just protect that. They'll justify that. They'll be like, oh, well, what if we get, and I hate what if. Oh my God, especially when it's posed as a question. It's not a question, okay? What if is never a question. Ask a question. Who, what, when, why? Like, what if it's a run-on sentence. It's not a question, ever. Right? It's a sneaky way of trying to plant a thought into someone else's mind. NORAD, built inside North American Aerospace. Aerospace just means airspace, which is the space between the ground and the dome, the firmament above us. Defense Command, right? So that they're defending the space above this area or whatever. Dude, if somebody's going to blow up any part of the United States, I very much doubt they're going to go shoot their rockets as far away as possible close to the central part, or, the inner western part of the United States, just to try to get at one particular area. It's more likely they're going to blow up the coasts, because that's closer. You know what I mean? You would think that if this was the reason, they would have mountain facilities and deep underground military bases on the coasts, mostly. You know what I mean? Not in the Rockies or whatever. This is a frickin' doomsday bunker, man. In my opinion. It seems logical to me. And it's all secret. Even the people who vote for their governments and stuff, they have no idea what's inside of there. They will say that they do all day long. They'll say, oh, well, yeah, they're all they're doing down there is this and that. But you don't know. You don't know. They're keeping it secret from you too. And then look at the symbolism that they have, right? Electricity at the top of a sword. Why? What does electricity have to do with North American Aerospace Defense Command? What do angel wings have to do with any of this? Something's very wrong and suspect going on here. And if you look back at the old ways, the old symbolism, the ancient world, it perfectly describes all of this. It tells you what the symbolism means, but they've taken those old ways away. So this douchebag talks to his wife trying to calm her down, and all I see is Agent Smith from the frickin' Matrix. You know how like he jumps into like random people? That's Agent Smith, dude, jumping right into this dude, putting his arm sort of in a this male, I don't know how to describe it, but even just that mannerism of him like putting his arm, reaching across his wife like that and getting like that close and then saying, honey, we just have to trust them, okay? This is our government. They're on our side. Government. This is our control mint. And they're on our side. But that's the motto of a slave if I ever freaking heard one. And oh, like, this is how they get away with stuff. They mind control one person who is taught and indoctrinated to go use that same spellcraft to others. They recruit, and people don't even know that they're being recruited. They think it's all sports, that they're on a team and that they're voting and that they represent me and it's in my best interest and this is the way it's always been. I hate it. So the kids get together and they're like, all right, here's the example. You know, they show the line. They're like, we're the acrobat. That's the flea. That's the underworld, or, you know, the other side or whatever. The upside down. And he's like, this is the upside down where Will is hiding. As we talked about, Will representing that earth energy, that good energy that is severely lacking in today's world, is underground. It's underground right now. It's not up here. This Satan. Okay, I hate using the name Satan, you know, because people, just like saying God, people connect too much to that. But that's what's in control up here right now. That's the frequency. It's all messed up. Okay, it's all bad everywhere I look. This is my perspective. Just as a reminder, I might say that a few times. This is what I see. This is my experience. If you feel the way I feel and if you resonate with that, good, sweet, celebrate. If you don't, take it with a grain of salt. And if you find nothing that resonates, that's fine too. But you don't need to share that, you know, nothing resonates with you or whatever. Anyways, the upside down, that's where all the energy, the good energy, is down there. There are pockets of it up here. Small pockets, right? And one day that energy will reverse and it will replace the bad energy. Oh, hey, Ken, thanks, man. That was super kind. I really appreciate you. All right, let's continue on. So he's like, this is the upside down where Will, the wishing well, the good energy, right? Will is hiding. And that's where we get the word will too. Like I will do this, I will do that. That's your energy that chooses to do that. The body just follows your will. It follows your spirit. Mr. Clark said the only way to get there is through a rip of time and space, right? So their openings, portals have to be opened in order to get into those worlds down below, because there are barriers. There's what do you call that? Energy barriers. What do you call that? I always forget that word. They put up a force field. Okay, there's force fields are real. There's a big one right above our sky, up there at the top of the sky, and that same one continues underground, and it goes underground, and it follows the earth. A gate, right? He says there's a gate in order to get down into the underworld. What do you call it? The upside down. A gate, and we tracked it to Hawkins' lab, right? So Hawkins represents all of your government officials who have esoteric councils, right? Departments, etc. Just like the one in Germany that everyone likes to hate on, okay? That also they were public about theirs. That's what I respect about it. At least they were public about theirs. At least they said, yeah, we believe in the occult. Yeah, we believe in the esoteric. Yeah, we are looking for ancient artifacts and, you know, the spear of destiny. And like they were looking for the fountain of youth. We sure are. And we don't want it to fall into the wrong evil hands. I mean, at the least they were open enough that, you know, we can just Google that and see that they had those departments. Ours keep it secret. You think United States doesn't have that? Or Canada, or Russia, or Australia, or anywhere else in the world doesn't have their own secret government, arcane, occult agencies that are looking into these things? Of course they do. So they said we found Hawkins' lab with our compasses. Right? The place, the Hawkins lab, that's trying to rip open, divide, and separate an opening and create an entryway, a gate, right, into the underworld. They found it with their compasses, right? So the sheriff is like, is this gate underground? Because remember, he's been there, right? He did his own investigations. He didn't call the police. I mean, he is the police, but he didn't call the government, and he didn't file paperwork, and he didn't do it. He said, screw this, and he snuck on in. He went on in there. He found out for himself, and he did his own research. Is this gate underground near a large water tank? Well, let's go back to CERN for just a second. Do compasses point to CERN? I ask. And it says, sure, if you try to use a magnetic compass near the CERN facility, your compass will probably point directly at the CERN facility. Exactly how it shows us in the movie. Ken, welcome, Ken. Next up, he says near a large body of water, near a large water tank, right? So, CERN consumes a considerable quantity of water to cool its accelerator complex. And that's not the only place in the world where they have and put these large bodies of water near ancient antiquitech arcane architecture that was used, to work with electricity and energy. CERN consumes some 3.5 million cubic meters of water, which corresponds to about 1,400 or 1,400 Olympic-sized swimming pools of water. Also, CERN is replicating on a small scale what Earth naturally provides on the large scale. That right there is the same exact thing, except nature made that. God made that, however you want to see it. That's why it's surrounded by pure, fresh, crystal clear water. And there's all these conduits and pathways and all this stuff. If you look at it with a new perspective, an electromagnetically inclined or energetically inclined perspective, it'll make a completely different sense. Instead of, oh, it's just land. So they ask 11, can you find them? Can you find them? Right? She's the one with the superpower. She's the one that has an amplified spirit. She's the one that can do it. She's like, yeah, I can find them in the bath. She needs a bath. She doesn't need a bath, but you know what I mean. She needs to use a body of water, and it's not just any old body of water. It's specific so that she can amplify her telepathic powers, so that she can amplify her aura, her auric field, and reach out with it to go see in other places. Donovan, wow, thank you. You guys are very kind today. I appreciate it. So, bath. 11 needs to be in the bath. Let's look at the word bath real quick, right? Bath. Proto-Indo-European root word be, which means to warm. It's a combination of be and tos. Betos. Which the root means to warm, right? It doesn't mean to cover in anything. It doesn't mean a bowl or any of the things that we might think that a bath implies. It means to make something warmer or to cover it in warmth, right? By extension. It's also from the Phoenician and Proto-Indo-European root word beth or beth. Bath, beth, it's all the same. Bith, bit, all these words, right? Which implies a picture form of a house or a container. And it also means in. Like this glyph, or the letter B in Hebrew at the beginning of a word, is a prefix that means in something, right? So she needs to go in something in order to amplify her powers. It's a pool of magic frickin' water. Magic's real. Okay, I just want to remind everybody, magic is all that there is magic. It's real, it's everywhere, and it's happening now. In good ways and bad ways. This is from the Bible. Let's talk about these baths, these magic baths, these energetic baths that people take in order to heal themselves, going back into antiquity, which has been covered up and forgotten by our modern academics, who believe that ancient Rome and Greece they were just real clean. They just all liked hanging out at the disgusting pools of, community bathhouses or whatever. No. There's another reason for those things. This is from the Bible. Now, there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool. You could also say a bath, which is called in Hebrew, in the tongue, Beth Esda. That's the exact word at the very beginning, bath. You see that? That's bath, basically. Okay? Having 5 porches. In these baths, pools, whatever you want to call them, in these lay a great multitude of impotent folk. Donovan, thank you, Donovan. Appreciate you. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, blind people, people that were withering up, and they were waiting for the stirring up, the movement of the water. So these baths, these pools, that people knew, they used to know that they had energetic properties, magic, that would heal them if they just went in around the time that those waters started to move about on their own. What would cause that, I wonder, right? In a natural spring, what would cause water to just start stirring up and bubbling up and moving about on its own? Another verse in the Bible. For an angel went down at a certain season. At a certain season means like these things are natural. They happen cyclically. They happen naturally according to the workings of the world we live in, on top of. An angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Not no. When I read the word angel, I think energetic entity. Energy. Okay? Not a Caucasian human with dove wings floated down and stirred up the water. No, that's stupid. It's cartoonified, okay? An angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped into that bath, into that pool, was made whole of whatever disease they had. Healing baths, healing pools, not going down just to, maybe if I keep clean, my pneumonia will go away, or my what do they call that, leprosy. Maybe I'll scrub the leprosy away. No, it wasn't to keep clean, the outside of your body clean or anything of the like. It was energetically charged. The Bible goes on to say, as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. These are the words of Jesus. I am the light of the world. When he had thus spoken, Charles, thank you, Charles. High five. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay out of his spit, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And then he said, he answered and said, a man that is called Jesus made the clay, anointed my eyes, and then he told me, go to the pool of Siloam, or Shiloam, or however you say that, and wash. And I went and I washed. These are one of the healing pools. And boom, I got sight. I got my sight back. It's not because Jesus spit in his eye. Right? I mean, it's deeper than that, but the main focus here is that right there, the pool, the bath, energetic places of healings, which they have uncovered all over the place. Archaeologists keep digging up ancient Roman and Greco-Roman bathhouses. And then they try to paint this in some disgusting, twisted, morbid way, trying to project the disgusting base energy of the modern world onto the awesome past that used to be. And they try to make it like, they were all naked and wild and having sex everywhere, and they were just gross and perverted and whatever, and they just liked baths. They just like hanging out in bathhouses. No. Wrong. These waters were infused and charged energetically from that same energy that came up through cavernous systems in the earth. And it would travel all the way up through, and it would be heated energy that would come up through, and it would energize metals. And those metals would be sought after by the gods who wanted eternal life, and they would command the humans to go dig up the metals and bring them to us so that they can extend their lifespans, because they had regenerative properties due to the energy that came up from Mother Earth, which gives life and gives birth to all things up here on the surface. People for a long time would go to these hot springs. This one's actually named after a radioactive element. And then they try to shame radioactivity and keep you away from it. Right? Like children and parents warning about the dangers of fire, instead of teaching them how to use fire and work with fire as a tool. If you have a cut and a gash near a jugular or something, and you burn that bad boy with fire, it's going to seal right up, and it's going to save your life. Radioactivity is the same thing. It's no different. It can be destructive if you use it improperly. But do they teach you about radioactive physics? Like in schools, in any of your schoolings or anything? No, not unless you go to a specialty college or something. And even then, they're going to paint it and smear it with all of this garbage that it's dangerous and bad, and it'll mutate you and turn you into this and that. Yes, it can do those things, but it can also heal. It can also regenerate your cells and eradicate cancers and things like that if used properly, according to the movie that we're talking about, not in real life. Damn fucking sorry. It's the damn algorithm. I've got to be careful what I say. Anyways, Doc Holliday, famous cowboy, right? He came here to Colorado at 36. He had tuberculosis. Holliday arrived in town hoping that the dry air and the local mineral hot springs and vapor caves would cure him of tuberculosis. And people still, in this day and age, would say, oh, he's just a stupid cowboy. They didn't know anything back then. They were dumb. All of them. All our ancestors going back further than, 50 years were stupid. All of them. The further back in time you go, the more they were all cavemen. They were all dumb. They were all rockheads and idiots and, meatheads, mouth breathers. No. I beg to differ. I feel the exact opposite. The exact opposite. These hot springs, mineral hot springs, used to be infused with this energy, but it dissipates over time. It gets weaker and weaker and weaker. So the people don't know any better and they continue to go. They continue to show up to these places, and then they start attributing the possible healing factors to it's the minerals in the water and it's this and that. Yes, okay, sometimes that's it. But minerals don't regenerate your cells and make you look younger when you get out of the bath instantaneously. And bring your age down from 80 to 30, or anything like that. Energy can do that. Vapor caves too. The vapor caves, right? So the same stuff, the same energy that's down there inside of the earth. Ken, thank you, Ken. Man, that's awesome. Thank you. That same energy that's down inside of the earth comes up and it can put those vapors into the air. It can heat up the water and those vapors flood throughout caves and stuff. And now the vapor is infused with energy. And guess what happens when you go down there in the ancient times? You send a representative, you send them down there because there's dangerous gases and who knows what down there. So you send somebody that seems to be able to, be willing to go down there, and they breathe in all this energetically fused vapors, which are charging the same things as the legendary minerals that people once sought after, that are mentioned across all of our pop culture and fiction and historic records and other things, right? Atlantis, other stuff like that. The same energy is charging the vapors. So I send people down into those cave systems. And then they say, hey, go search for this information. The Oracle of Delphi is 11. She's a type. 11 is a type of the Oracle of Delphi, an alleged historic figure, person, or representative of a priestess class who would be chosen to go down into these caves that emitted this vapor, and then the vapor would help them. And then you know what people in the modern day would say? Oh, they were just high. That's it. That's all. We're just going to minimize that. They're just high. They didn't know what they were talking about. They were just making educated guesses because they were just, sniffing glue is basically what that boils down to. When in reality, these vapor caves they come up from these places of power, energetic places of power on the earth that emit energy, right? And that energy amplifies the spirit and connects the spirit and your chakras and your aura and your chi, your prana, your spirit body, etc. Amplifies it and connects it, or allows the person's mind to make the connection with the Akashic records, with the halls of Amenti, with the information that is collected and stored. Every single thing that exists and happens, all of history is stored energetically. It leaves waves. It's connected. All of it is. Right now is connected to a second ago. And just as much, you can extend that infinitely into the past. Going into the future, it's all connected. All of it is recorded by the earth, by existence. It's all being recorded. Nothing is really hidden. So you can tap into those records. You can tap into those frequencies. You can see memories of times past. You can see echoes from the future. So the kids call up their teacher and they're like, hey, we need to know how to make a sensory deprivation tank, which we've talked about, right? That's what they need. That's what that bath is going to be. We're going to talk about that now. He's like, all right, so we just need salt, a lot of it. So they need a bath filled with salt water. Why? The purpose is not to make her float. That's helpful. You know, it takes away the other sensations that are distracting, like touching the ground or feeling her weight and things like that. That's beside the point, though. This is the purpose. It's an electrolyte. Putting salt, massive amounts of salt into the water allows electricity, energy to flow from the body outward or into the body inversely, right? So they put all this salt water into these baths. And it's got to be warm, right? If you want warm water because that helps to allow things to pass through it easily instead of cold water. And they wait, and the way that they know it's perfect is they float an egg on the top of it and things will float, right? So 11 gets into this bath full of salt water, an electrolytic system, she is a conductor. She's in the water. Electricity is about to flow. And then they show you electricity surging. The lights start flickering. This is allowing her to amplify her own electrical impulses and spirit. So she's in the bath water. She's clearly doing the little Atlas pose, etc., the Jesus pose, etc., in the salt water. And then she goes down into the upside down, right? And there's she's got a little reflection there that's also upside down. She goes up to Castle Byers, which is the little hideout that Will had made in the forest, right? And if we look it up, castle just means tower, okay? And really, it means a pile. It means a mound of earth, not a constructed building that people made. We just attribute that to their creations because that, you know what I mean? But really, a castle in the old days was a mound of earth that shot up into the sky, into the air, like the Giant's Causeway or the Devil's Tower. Those are castles, technically. But if you look up Byers, right? Castle, Byers, we look up the name Byers and it means, and it implies a place where people live, a town, a city. This is a castle town, a castle city. This is symbolic of the center of our world, where the castle is holding and keeping captive Sophia, the good feminine spirit energy that's healing to the nations of the world. And she's locked away inside of it and waiting for someone to come rescue. And people have lived there in the ancient times. That's the place you would want to live. That's paradise all the way around this central castle of energy. It's a plasma volcano that shoots energy up into the sky. So she goes inside, she finds Will. This is where he should be. If he represents the energy, he's the well of life, the wellspring of life, the wishing well, etc. So 11, the elven girl, right, goes into Castle Byers, finds Will. It's all, symbolically, it all makes perfect sense to me. And she says, Mom is coming, Mom is coming. And then we cut back to the police chief, and they get caught. And there's all these government people encircling them. He does his little Atlas pose, which means peace. And that is our presentation. There's one more after this one. Chapter 8. There'll be one more. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone. I really appreciate all the support. That was really awesome. All right. I'll see you guys later. Until next time.